Maybe don't know.
This time, this time, this time, this time, this time to build. 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 This time power. This time to build power. This time to build power. This time to build power.
What's up, everybody? I am your host, Chris Hampton.
And this is Nate Drolet.
And together we form Knight Rider.
Knight Rider.
Yeah. You can be David Hasselhoff. I'll be Kit.
Someday you're going to use references that aren't so dated.
It's doubtful. It's highly, highly doubtful.
Very. All right.
Yeah. So today we're going to talk about something that's near and dear to my heart, and difficult, incredibly fucking difficult. And we all have to do it. And I'm in this transition where it's becoming a whole new thing to me. I got really good at it one way, and now I'm learning it a new way. And that's the top 3 ways to balance climbing with real life. And that includes training for climbing, going outside climbing, with real life, family, friends, whatever. Depends on what your real life is. Some of you may have no friends. That's okay.
It makes you climb a lot harder.
Yeah, makes it easier. You should just in fact, that's what we should just talk about, getting rid of your friends.
Yes.
Alienating your family.
Mm-hmm.
And then you can climb much harder.
Yeah.
Yeah, not true. Okay. I think it's me.
Yeah, I'll let you start on this one because this is, I feel like you've got plenty for this one.
Yeah, I think number one, you have to become, and this is strictly for not strictly, I shouldn't say that, but this comes from my weekend warrior background, which I'm no longer in the midst of right now. But you have to become a schedule Nazi, and that schedule has to be priority, man. Like, you really have to do it on multiple levels. You have to schedule out your whole year, and then you have to schedule out your climbing months, and then you have to schedule out your climbing days, and you have to schedule out your training, and you need it all to be scheduled with your partners and with your family and with your friends, and everybody's got to know. And you have to kind of be a jerk about it sometimes. But that's the best way to make it work. If it's all scheduled and there's no guesswork involved, then it's more often than not, you're going to get to enjoy the life things, knowing that climbing is already on the schedule and you don't have to be in super hectic, frantic mode with life so that you can go climbing. So that's my number one.
That makes sense.
Schedule Nazi.
Stress out a little bit over the scheduling so that everything else can be relaxed and kind of in place.
Yeah, exactly. I see so many people like not schedule things, and then come Thursday, they're weekend warriors. Come Thursday, they're freaking out because they've got all these things to do before they go climbing. And then, Friday night, they finally make it to bed at 3 a.m. so that they can go climbing Saturday morning. And then their Saturday sucks because they didn't get any sleep on Friday. And then they have half a day Sunday because they have to drive home. So, and they're in that perpetual cycle every weekend. And they never know where they're going to climb. And they don't know who they're climbing with. And it's this big, constant ordeal. It doesn't have to be like that.
Yeah. I mean, if you're cool with that, then stick with it. But
Yeah. If you love that and that's your gig, and being frantic and anxiety and all that is part of what you enjoy, then by all means.
I've met those people.
Yeah, they're out there for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that also goes hand in hand with when you find a good climbing partner, man, especially someone who's on your schedule.
Yep.
Worth their weight in gold.
Yeah. No question.
Which I guess isn't saying much because most sport climbers are pretty tiny, but
it's true.
Yeah.
Yeah. And something I used to do as a schedule Nazi was I would talk to my main partners for that season and say, here are the things I want to work on. What are the things you want to work on? And then any of those things that line up, those become priority.
Nice.
And then we have second tier priority and third tier priorities, and we just tick them off as they come, and we're okay with each other doing 2 crag days, or we've done 3 crag days. You know, that's not uncommon. So.
Yeah. I mean, I think you have to be a little bit flexible with that kind of stuff, especially if you're being a weekend warrior.
Yep.
Yeah. No, I think that's a really good one. So my first one, actually, do you want to give like a 2-second background, I guess, to why you were weekend warrioring and what you had going on, just so people kind of know what was up?
Yeah, and a lot of you know this already, but I was a weekend warrior for my whole climbing career. Up 22 years at this point, I think, and then because of the power company, things have gotten to the point where I can work on the road, and I moved to Lander, which means I'm not going to be just a weekend warrior anymore, because I can drive 45 minutes down the road, or 15 minutes to Sinks and go climbing any day of the week. And right now I'm on the road until March. Right now is when is it? It's November 4th,
6th,
7th, 6th. It's someday in November.
But if never mind. I was going to say, for anyone who's wondering, the supermoon's the 14th, but
yeah, they won't hear this.
That'll be old news.
The supermoon was the 14th.
So for anyone who saw the supermoon on the 14th, it was pretty awesome, wasn't it? Yeah, guys.
And I'll be on the road until March. So I'm not a weekend warrior, and I'm finding a whole new meaning to balancing climbing and life. It's a whole different thing for me right now. I'm working through it.
That's surprisingly hard on both sides of the spectrum.
It's hard. Yeah. I had it fucking dialed before, and now I'm this newbie. So, yeah.
All right. Word. My first one is nail down the basics. So this is make sure you're getting good sleep. Be hydrated. Eat food consistently. Just whatever you're like. Yeah. Nail down the basics. Like, there are so many easy wins.
Yep.
And just like kind of being a human and rock climbing, that if you're working a ton, you don't like, your climbing time is very valuable. So if you feel like shit when you're rock climbing, then you just pissed away, what could have been like
the best day of the week.
Yeah, the best day of the week, or like the month. If you can only climb on Thursdays, let's say, and you feel like garbage on the only good Thursday of that month, like that is of the whole month, that was your best day. Yep. Like, and so yeah, just nail down the basics, at least while you're in season. Like, yeah.
Yeah. And I think if you can nail down the basics in season, then you're probably going to continue that habit through the off season, through your training season.
Absolutely. Yeah. And so for anyone who's wondering, as far as like work-life stuff goes for me, look, I've never really been as much of a weekend warrior. I've always lived close to climbing, living in Chattanooga or Kentucky or West Virginia. But I've always worked I've worked a lot of different jobs, everything from restaurant to route setting, which anyone who's not a route setter, most people think, oh, that must be nice, because like you get to just kind of like
tough ass job if you're trying to be a rock climber.
God, it fucking sucks, man. Like, you're just always tired. Like, if you're a good route setter and you're actually forerunning, like some people don't, and that's cool. Get money, get paid. But yeah, like if
you're so convincing with that. That's cool.
Yeah, it's whatever. Like, but if you actually give a shit about what you do, and you forerun and you try and put out a quality product, man, it's exhausting. Like jugging a line and setting and all that. Like, yeah, it is tiring, and trying to balance that, even just not just physically, but motivationally, to be like, oh, cool, I was just in the gym for like 8 straight hours for the last 5 days, and now I'm gonna go back to the gym
to go climb some
and train. Yeah, it's like, man, it's very difficult. Like, I have a lot of respect for route setters out there who can climb really well. Like, there's a handful of guys who've done a great job of it, and it's really cool to see. But yeah, so I've done that. So restaurant, route setting, window washing. Working at Amazon was probably like one of the biggest learning experiences for me. Spent the better part of a year working between 50 and 60 hours a week, and walking, depending on how long the shifts were, anywhere from like 12 to like 18 to 20 miles a day. And so that like made me really prioritize my training.
Yeah, I'm seeing you kind of gear up for that now, and I think that's pretty cool that you recognize that there's this life event happening that needs to happen, and and you shift your climbing goals to fall in line with that, and then you shift back to climbing goals are priority. Life events will have to work around it.
Yeah.
You know,
I mean,
that's pretty cool.
That's just it. It's like, life happens, when something comes up, you just got to get it done. So you got to work and do the best you can. And so for anyone who's wondering, I'm about to go do some seasonal work for Amazon, go work in their warehouse for the Christmas season, which I'm actually kind of excited for, in that for the next 2 months, I'm going to go through a bunch of hangboarding and campus supporting and things like that. So I'm getting myself like super psyched to, I don't know, walk a ton and
go through a training cycle.
Get wicked swole.
Cool. Wicked swole.
Yeah, exactly.
Next time you see Nathan Drolet, he'll be wicked swole.
That's the plan.
All right, number 2.
All right.
Make it a priority and be honest with your family and friends about it. And this sort of comes right after become a schedule Nazi. Part of it comes before, part of it comes after. I think Steve Bechtel once said to me that priority is a singular word. It's not plural. There aren't priorities.
Okay, I see what
there
you're saying.
can only be
now.
one priority.
I was thinking monosyllabic for a second. I was like, I don't know where he's going with this. Okay, yes. Carry on.
So you can't have 5 different priorities in your life, And if you've handled family, then it starts to get on autopilot a little bit if you're handling it well. If you suck at family, then that needs to be your priority and not climbing, But if you've gotten to the point where family and your work and things like that are on autopilot, the things that keep you alive, then make climbing your priority and make training for climbing your priority. And don't let things that just pop up last minute derail that unless it's an emergency. It's all too easy to say, I'm going to go to the gym Thursday night, and then Thursday afternoon somebody say, hey, do you want to go out to this bar? And that sounds more fun, so you're going to go out to the bar. And then you don't have another climbing session till the following Tuesday, and then you skip that one too for whatever reason, because it's bowling night or whatever. And you want to go bowling with your friends. Whatever it is, it's really easy to start skipping sessions. And when you're a weekend warrior, those sessions add up really fast.
Yeah. I mean, and the thing is, there's always something happening.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're looking for an excuse, you're going to find it anywhere.
Yeah, no doubt. No doubt. So it's got to be a priority.
Cool. This actually blends in really well with my number 3. So I'm skipping down to that. We'll come back to number 2. And it's that always be moving forward. So just because things aren't lining up perfectly doesn't mean that you can't keep getting better.
Yep.
Shit's going to happen. Things are going to get in the way. And let's say, you've got a buddy in town who you never get to see, and he's like, hey, let's go bowling. I personally love bowling, and anyone who doesn't know, I used to bowl competitively. So I would actually be down for it. But
I totally wasn't throwing shade at bowling just a minute ago. Sort of was, actually.
Yeah, like, it's okay. It's all right. So yeah, if you're going to go do these things, like, do something. Like, even if it's a 20-minute hangboard workout, like a 5-minute core workout, something, just any day that you can do something, it's better than nothing. Like, and we're all going to have like times of our lives where we're really stressed or weird things come up, whether it's like family or relationship or whatever. And you're just going to be like, it'll be easier just to give up. It is. Like, it's easier to say, I'm going to throw in the towel. I'm just going to eat a lot of donuts and I'm just going to stop giving a fuck. Like, that's really
kind of cool, actually.
Yeah, that's amazing. But it's so easy to do. And man, it's so easy to like just landslide all of that. Like, the second one thing goes and you're like, I'm just going to stop caring about all of it. Like, man, everything just starts going downhill.
Yeah,
so.
And you end up on the couch playing Legend of Zelda for 27 straight hours. Not that I've ever done that, but it happens, I hear.
It does happen. But yeah, so just like do something. Like, keep consistent. I mean, the thing is, when you like, climbing's amazing. We're going to come back to it. Like, at some point, you're going to be like, you know what? I finally have time again. I want to get back to rock climbing. And if you suck, like, it's not fun to come back.
It's tough, man. It's really tough.
But if you're just doing the bare minimum, just like, okay, like I can only get into the gym once a week for an hour, do it. Like just get in, do something, like, yeah, and it'll pay off in the end, because when you actually are like, you do have the time, you're like, oh, I'm actually not in like horrible shape.
Yep.
Maybe after a month or so, you're like, cool, I'm back about where I was. But yeah, so just, plan for the hard times, like plan for chaos.
Yep.
Like,
I think that's really good advice, because we're all going to have chaos. Life's crazy. Life's hard. Even the people who you see who look like they have this perfect life, shit falls apart.
oh yeah.
And when they come out of the other side unscathed, it's because they planned ahead, because they're putting work in, because they're getting the bare minimum done, even when it's not convenient.
Mm-hmm. I mean, yeah, consistency is king. Like, the more consistent you can be, even if it's just the tiniest little things, it goes such a long ways.
Yeah, no doubt. You know what else goes a long way? Taking a break.
Yep.
What's up, everybody? Chris here. Sorry to interrupt. I'll keep this brief. Since this podcast thing became officially official, I've gotten a bunch of messages from you guys asking how you can help out and make sure that it keeps going. Well, now we've got a way. Our new Patreon page, which you can find at patreon.com/powercompanypodcast, is set up so that you can become patrons of the podcast. We want to keep this thing sponsor free. We want to keep it mostly commercial free, except for our own commercials, like this one, of course. So the way it's set up is that you can donate monthly, $1 a month, $5 a month, all the way up to $25 a month, and you get rewards in return for that. For instance, for the $5 a month, you get our Google Voice number, which means you can call, leave us a voicemail message, and we'll play it on the podcast and try to answer any questions that you have. So we're trying to give back to you guys, and again, trying to keep this thing sponsor free, so help us out. Patreon.com/powercompanypodcast, or you can go to powercompanyclimbing.com and click on the podcast tab. Thanks a lot. Back to the show. And we have returned. We're on number 3. And my number 3 is get another hobby.
Oh, that's a good one.
Find something else you enjoy doing. I think it's a good idea to just have some other things to take your mind off of the project and off of climbing, and moving your body in a different way, or using your mind in a different way, or whatever it might be. The one key thing you have to do, though, is early on in the process of coming up with this other hobby is decide what the priority is. Like, is this a hobby or is this a passion? And if it's something you really want to pursue, then maybe your rock climbing needs to take a back seat. Otherwise, you need to keep climbing in the driver's seat while you've got this other hobby going on. So, and I know you've got a bunch of other hobbies as well. So.
I've always got hobbies going. Do you have any favorites?
I love skateboarding. I love my silly Photoshop Senstagrams that I make and I'm about to start recreating.
Now that it's sending weather.
It's sending weather, yeah. And people are sending, and they're sending routes with good names, so I need to make some. I've got all sorts of little hobbies, and I make music and I read, and so yeah, I do a bunch of things. But since I've really focused on climbing and training for climbing, things that have been my passions in the past, like music, have taken a back seat. So I know that I can't put the amount of energy that both deserve into both if I want them both to be treated like passions. So I put one on the back burner for a little while.
Yeah, I think that can be good too, because it can help refuel passion for other things.
Yeah, totally.
Put it off for a little bit, just kind of keep it around, but yeah, like focus on other things, so when you come back to it, it feels fresh, and it's not like, oh, this is just something I've been kind of grinding away at for a long time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and if I'm ever, if I get into a funk with climbing and don't want to put a season of training in, or, I just want to go climb easy trad for a while or whatever, and I'm not pushing super hard, then I can focus in on music, because I kind of always have to be going in on something. So, Yeah. Or all you guys can just send shit and I can make Instagrams all day long.
All this Instagrams.
Yeah. Hashtag Instagrams on the Instagrams.
And I'll change topics right now. So my number 3 is build good habits. Like
Yes.
don't make yourself make hard choices every day. Don't be like, oh, what am I going to eat for breakfast like this morning? Instead, just, man, I pick one simple thing, and Chris can attest to this because we lived on the road for
Yeah. And
6 weeks together.
totally down with this program.
We ate, for that trip, we ate breakfast burritos every single morning. And it was funny because I was cooking breakfast and I was like, Chris, how do you feel about breakfast burritos? And he's like, oh, I love breakfast burritos. I was like, and the next morning I'm like, how do you feel about breakfast burritos? He's like, I love breakfast burritos. And I think it was like a weekend. I was like, I'm going to keep making breakfast burritos with the same ingredients until you say stop. And I'm going to test and see how far this goes. And
Probably not going to say stop.
Yeah, we basically made it 6 weeks, which is awesome. Only change was different hot sauces, which is...
Yeah, Sophie saw me make a breakfast burrito the other morning and just rolled her eyes. Yeah.
But yeah, like, just pick certain things and, like, make them a habit. So one thing that helped me a ton when I was working at Amazon is, man, I was walking a bunch, and, man, the second I'd get off work, like, I didn't feel like doing anything. But I always packed my climbing gear. I had a change of clothes. I drove straight to the gym. Because I knew if I went home, I was going to sit on the couch and I wasn't going to move. Like, I would be done for the day. So drove straight to the gym, and it wasn't even a question anymore. It was just drive to the gym, get my training in, I'm done.
Yep,
like,
totally.
And that was it. It was no longer this like, what should I do? So yeah, build good habits. Like, it's not terribly hard to do. Just be consistent. Pick something small, start with that. There's a couple things I like a lot. James Clear, who's a great writer and talks on habits a lot, he likes the idea of a keystone habit, and which climbing is actually a great use for that. So his biggest example is exercise. So the idea is that the more he exercises, suddenly he feels like, oh, like I want to eat better because it makes me feel better. Like I want to be more hydrated.
Leads to all the others.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like it all ties together. And the thing is, if you're climbing consistently and you're trying to get better, you start realizing, wow, when I get like 8 good hours of sleep, or, if that's not possible, whatever it is, let's say you can only get 6 hours of sleep a night, but when suddenly you're like, oh, when I get 6 quality hours of sleep, not just I go to bed and I wake up 6 hours later, like I feel a lot better and I climb harder. Suddenly there's this reward that comes along with it.
Yep, totally.
And same thing with eating, same thing with hydration, all these different things like, self-care and stuff like that to improve your recovery. Like, yeah, build these little habits. And once you start seeing how they relate, like they just become natural.
Yeah, climbing's definitely been my keystone habit. When I was really focused on music, it was never...
It didn't make you eat healthier?
It did not make me eat healthier. It did not make me sleep better. In fact, I slept very little and I ate like absolute shit. It definitely... It created other small habits, but as far as healthy habits go, something like climbing is a really, really great one. Great keystone habit to have. Yeah, I like that term.
Yeah. Like one I liked a lot when I was trying to do core exercises consistently. I just, I want to do them more or less like 5 days a week. And so I was like, cool, every single weekday, I'm going to do a core workout, like before I go to bed. And it's, it's easier said than done. And what ended up working really well for me, and I think I've told a bunch of people this. I don't know if I've mentioned on the podcast before, but I'd turn on Pandora and I would just move for 3 songs. Like, whether it was planks, side planks, bridges, whatever, pal-off presses, just move. Like, and if I was psyched, like there's sometimes I'd go even longer or I'd do like much harder exercises, but bare minimum, all I had to do, like, it was just like, oh, I just need to do this. And I like turn on Pandora and I just more or less move for 3 songs. And it became,
that's a cool way to do it.
Yeah. And it became really easy to the point to where it didn't even feel like a task anymore. I was like, oh, cool. Just going to turn it on. Like, and then I could kind of take it on however I felt. Like, man, if I felt just really rough, then I would take it really easy. Man, there were some nights like I would get started. I'm like, oh man, I'm really psyched. I would
Yeah,
go
you're
for
stoked
like
at that point.
5, 6, 7 songs and be just crushing it. And yeah, there was no specific rep or set scheme or like perfect exercises. Like I have a lot of exercises that I think are good and I was cycling through them, but what was most important was I was just being consistent. Like, and that made such a huge difference.
Yeah, and I think it's huge to have a way, like a gateway into that habit, because it's so easy to decide you're going to do core 5 days a week and then
30 minutes a day.
Yeah, and then feel like you have to have this super exciting, regimented program of core for 5 days a week.
If I can sneeze without pain the next day, I didn't do it well enough.
And in reality, so many people do all this research up front, figure out what their big plan is, what they're going to do, and then they just never actually do it. That's what happens with New Year's resolutions, all the gym memberships that get bought on New Year's resolutions, and it's a really great way, super simple way that you're outlining there, just to jump into that.
Yeah, just pick something small and just do it consistently. That's so huge with habits, and I don't know. It's hard to convince anyone of this, but pick something so small that you cannot fail. Like, like it sounds ridiculous, the whole idea of like, oh, just get 1% better every day. But the thing is, after like 100 days, that's a really huge amount that you're getting better.
That's 100% better.
Yeah, like, but yeah, I don't know. It's a really hard sell to convince people that just do something tiny, because it's like, oh no, I'm just going to overhaul everything. I've got a new meal plan. I've got just everything.
Yeah, we want it all at once.
7 training plans, and I'm going to be a new me here in a couple months.
Yep.
And
we want to plan it all at once, and then we want all the effects all at once.
Yeah, but just make a tiny change and just see to it. Like a really fun strategy I like. It's what's called the Seinfeld strategy, and Jerry Seinfeld used this. The comedian, his goal was to just write one joke a day. That was his entire goal. If he could write one usable joke, or even just a joke in general, then that was a success. So he pulled out a calendar, and every single day that he could write a joke, he scratched out that day with a giant red X. And so the whole idea was to try and make this chain of days as long as possible, like never break it. And it was, it's one joke. Like, this is just one tiny little thing. It would be easy to be like, no, I have to write for like 2 hours or something like that. Or
right.
It's so easy to just have these huge goals. But there's everyone who's listening to this probably has heard of the name Jerry Seinfeld.
Yep.
Like, just a little bit done consistently goes so far.
Yeah, no doubt. I'm going to throw a wrench in the works here.
Oh, goodness.
Since this has been a really quick one, do you have a favorite tool, a physical or digital tool that you bought that helps your climbing life balance?
Oh, that's a good one. I don't know. I like the Armade a lot. I don't know if that's what we're talking about.
Are you having elbow issues right now?
Yeah, no. Because of the Armade.
Because of the Armade.
Yeah.
So mine is
that one.
Mine is one that I didn't buy. I just happened across it, and in looking for a way to make a to-do list that kind of was across my whole platform of life, that could fit with work and life and everything else. And I came across, I think it's called Google Tasks.
Oh yeah.
And I use that for, I just make little notes in there all day long about what I need to get done and when it needs to get done. And then I can just go on my computer whenever I'm starting to get work done, and I open up Google Tasks and hit sort by date, and it can tell me everything that needs to get done that day. And for me, that's great, especially on the computer when I get sidetracked and I'm on Facebook for an hour before I even realize I've been on Facebook at all. So that's super helpful for me. And I'm sure there are better programs than Google Task, but it's a free one that works really well for me.
So I've got one.
Okay.
Using sticky notes.
Okay.
Yeah. So
What do you do with these sticky notes?
I stick them to things. Anytime before I would go into the gym, I would write down on a little Post-it note what my entire workout for the day was. And my theory on that is, if it can't fit on a Post-it note, you're doing too much stuff.
That's a good idea.
And the other thing is, like, if you just walk in the gym and you're like, oh, I'm going to like try hard today, you could be in there for 7 hours and like get just nothing done. But, you know, be like, okay, like 15-minute warm up of like this drill, like 20 minutes of this or whatever. And like whatever I was doing, I would have it mapped out. So then when I went in, I knew exactly what I was doing. And man, like, yeah, when you're spending a lot of your time doing other things, you need to be as effective as possible with your time when you're training. Like, and it doesn't take much time to train. Like you can get wrecked in 90 minutes.
No question.
Like if you're focused, and that's like with good rests. Like that's not just, I'm climbing 90 straight minutes. It's like, no, like you're still resting like 2 minutes between efforts. And yeah, like if you're really trying hard and you're being intelligent about what you're doing, you can get a lot done in 90 minutes to 2 hours. But yeah, if you're just half-assing and you have no plan, then
And you're in there for 5 hours and it takes a whole pack of sticky notes to write down your session.
Yeah, it's actually like a little flip book.
Yeah.
Of me falling.
By the way, don't do that. Don't try to make a flip book with sticky notes. It doesn't work. I tried it a lot. I went through a lot of sticky notes trying to make flip books. Anyway.
So yeah, the sticky note. That's like one of my favorite things. And a pack of sticky notes is tiny, fits anywhere, and it's like $1.
Yeah.
So
boom.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite
that.
things. But more or less plan ahead so that you have something going on.
Yep. Awesome. I think you guys know where to find us. Definitely on the interwebs, on the Facebooks and the Instagrams, #Sinstagram.
And thanks to everyone who's been giving us 5-star reviews on iTunes.
Yeah, we love you guys for that, and everybody listening, really. But if you're listening and you haven't rated us and reviewed us, you should go do that. Jump on your computador and go do it. And you will not find us, however, on the Twitters, because we don't tweet. We scream like eagles.
This time, this time, this time, this time, this time to build, this time to build, this time to build, this time, this time to build, this time to build, this time to build, this time, power, this time to build, power, this time to build, power, this time to build, power. This time to build.